Good morning, everybody. So, I've been talking to some very interesting people about interesting things, about things that we're doing behind the scenes. It's been a stressful week when it comes to emails. It's something they never tell you about this job is that you end up talking to some people at companies, and it's like scary stuff. I end up having to get my partner to help because I never was a part of corporate world. I went from Tesco to this, so I skipped corporate entirely. So whenever I have to write professional emails to people that are pretty high up in certain things, I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. So we get we get my partner involved to rewrite things. What I do is I'll write it first, shove it into ChatGPT, then ChatGPT will give it me back, and I'll give it to my partner so that she can make it more human but still professional. And yeah, am I going to drop the building process on YouTube? I'm definitely going to vlog parts of it. I'm not going to record it all because I need to make sure that I just don't break things. That's the concern that I've got, is if I'm building this myself and all these components are going to be so expensive and high end, I need to be paying full attention rather than trying to be entertaining or engaging or thinking about attention spans when I'm recording. So I'll definitely be filming bits and pieces of the build and definitely talking about a lot of the components because I'm going to need to, for reasons that will be confirmed once things are put into place officially. But yeah, I recently decided to sell my Switch and its games to make a little PSP collection. I don't know if you influenced it, but I feel at home at this channel. Honestly, the whole feeling at home is the whole point of my channel. My favourite YouTubers when I was younger were the ones who it almost felt cozy to have on in the background. I don't necessarily feel. I feel like we've got different kinds of. There's different kinds of content on YouTube, right? There's content that you actively pay attention to, and can't miss a second of, or you'll miss something vitally important. There's content that you put on when you're watching, when you're eating your dinner, and it's you're focusing on it. And then there's content that you sort of have on in the background as a secondary thing while you're doing something else. And you tend to consume more of that, but sort of passively rather than actively. And that's kind of how I think I. That's kind of the way I want my content to be. I know that I think there are some people that do watch my stuff as a bit of a priority. For example, if I look at my analytics, a lot of a decent chunk of people watch my stuff on a TV, which says to me they might be watching it with dinner and whatever. In which case, I feel like TV viewing is typically a little bit more active, perhaps, because it is for me anyway. If I watch a YouTube video on my TV, I'm usually actually watching it, whereas if I've got a YouTube video on my monitor, it's because I'm usually doing something on my TV, like gaming or whatever. But in my head, when I make my videos, I often make it with sort of casual, relaxed coziness in mind. I'm under no illusion, right, that I'm ever doing anything very cool in a lot of these videos. A lot of these videos are very same old, but that's because the way that I make my content is just I chronicle what I do on a day-to-day basis, whether it be exciting or not, and I try and keep it very real because a lot of people try to, and this is the trap that a lot of YouTubers fall into, and after years of doing it, they're like, I don't know what to do anymore. Is they try and manufacture events because it makes for good content. They try and figure they wake up and be like, right, what can I do today that'll top yesterday? And you can only do that for so long before you hit a peak and you can't do anything else. Whereas I just genuinely do film what I do on a daily basis. And what I do on a daily basis, anybody that watches videos most days, is I wake up, I play games. I go to CEX, my PO box, we do the shopping, we go to the cinema, we go to the gym, and we eat food. That's my normal life. That's my job. And the reality is, a lot of the content creators that you watch, they will live a normal life outside of their videos, regardless of what they try and make you feel. The point of this is that a lot of social media is kind of fake and produced to put on a show and entertain. And what you see on social media isn't always reflective of what real life looks like. I try and make what I do on these videos to look as close to real life as I can get, because I think it's that cozy vibe. I used to love when I was younger. I used to consume a lot more YouTube when I was younger because I never left the house, ever, full stop. When I was a kid, obviously I had people that follow. I didn't have a great childhood. I didn't leave the house very much. So I just watched YouTube videos all day, every day while I play games. And I had guys like Necroscope86, Lord Vega, SSOHPKC, Halloween 4545. These old YouTubers and Let's Players that would just mass produce videos, just banging them out. And I just leave their videos on in the background while I was actually playing games. And it felt like I just had another voice on. Or a podcast like Painkiller Already. I've been listening to Painkiller Already now for about 15 years. Since single digits of episodes, which is crazy to think, considering I think they're on episode 700 odd now. But yeah, that's kind of how I want my content to be perceived is not necessarily high energy, high octane, what are we doing today sort of thing, because I'm under no illusion that what I do is kind of boring sometimes, but some people seem to like it, so I keep it up. And I don't want it to come across fake, so I don't manufacture things. Like, sometimes cool things happen, and when cool things happen, I'll film it. So, for example, I've been invited to do a few things in a few weeks that once Christmas is by and people are actually available to do it with me, I'm going to do, and I'll film that. Although I don't know why they want me to film that, but we'll get to that. Basically, I've been invited to do a thing that I have thought about paying to do before and filming, and I would have wanted to have filmed it, but I was under the impression I would not be allowed to film it, because if I filmed it, it would defeat the entire point of anybody else going and doing it, if that makes sense. But they have specifically invited me to do all of them and film it, so I guess they're not bothered. So there's that. So stay tuned for that one. But yeah, I want that cozy vibe. It's why I record my TV with my camera as well, because it's that cozy vibe. And I'm going to start splicing in gamelog stuff into the daily vlogs, I think, rather than having the gamelogs be their own thing, because I think that's the thing that's holding me back from actually doing them. But yeah, hopefully that made sense. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'll see you in a bit. Which CX is that? The Resident Evil Steelbook looks in nice condition. I might order it. Stafford, and there are 2 Resident Evil 4 Steelbooks. Which, on the topic of that, by the way, because this is what's inspired me to talk about this, every time I see that Resident Evil 4 Steelbook, it's trashed whenever I see it on like eBay listings. I don't understand how this happens. How are people wrecking their steelbook so easily? Are you literally submerging it in water? Like, what are we actually doing right now? Because I would imagine that if I was to go on eBay right now and search like Resident Evil 4 steelbook, half of them would be wrecked. I just don't understand how it happens. I know the thing is like 20 years old-ish, but things just don't get wrecked by default, just because time happened. My local CX don't even put any steelbooks on the shelf. They're in plain Blu-ray cases, and the steelbook is behind the till. That's an interesting one. Every different CX has got different rules. Even in the same CX, there'll be different rules depending upon which member of staff is in, and they'll all talk about each other when the one isn't on shift. Trust me, I've seen it happen a million times now. But it's always interesting, the rules that some have. So, for example, if we look at the Dark Souls trilogy that I used to make some money a few weeks ago, one CEX, before they put them on the shelf, had reprinted covers made with the original cover arts. Granted, it's still going to have cover reprinted in the corner, but you know the way that CEX do that. So they did that. The other one just put the trilogy box set straight on the shelf. One CEX will say, and then a third CEX will say, we can't take them at all. Meanwhile, you see what I mean about how that's 3 different sets of rules there. And all 3 will act like their rule applies to everybody. It just doesn't work like that. So every single CEX has got different rules, different ways of doing things, every different member of staff as well. It really all just depends. Like, never take a single experience or a single thing one person said as a rule or law in a CEX. You can take the same thing in twice and get a different grade for it depending upon who did it. Like, there's no hard and fast, like, set in stone things with this. If the case can't be stolen and sold for money, it goes on the shop floor. Oh, bro, there are plenty of examples that I can show you of cases that are worth some money that have been on the shop floor. I've seen Painkiller Hell and Damnation on the shop floor in Stoke CEX before. That is a £75 game. And remember, what makes these games expensive is often them when they are complete. No collector is buying a £75 PlayStation 3 game with a reprinted front cover. If they lose that original case because somebody steals that case, that game is now worth less, just by nature. So this was about... in my local CEX right now, they've got Sly Cooper 1 and 3. Sly Cooper 1 is £35 and is on the shop floor. Sly Cooper 3 is £30 and behind the glass. And I thought that was strange because Sly Cooper 1 is worth more and yet is the one that is on the shop floor, and Sly Cooper 3 is the one that is cheaper and yet is being protected. Realistically, you'd have thought that they would have both warranted being behind the shop floor. Another one in that same video that dude commented on, because context goes where sometimes. The Resident Evil 4 Steelbook, there was 2 of them. One on the shop floor, one behind the glass. And again, this is what I'm saying is, odds are one member of staff deemed that game cool enough to go behind the glass, and a different member of staff was the one that put the one on the shop floor out, and they probably didn't at any point cross over, because I would imagine most staff don't bother to keep up with what is and isn't on the shop floor unless they themselves put it out. So yeah, there is no hard and fast rules about the case value determining that. Not at all. Also, yesterday I did a video about my PC build and about how I'm using, and a lot of comments were about the fact that I'm using an air cooler, despite the fact that so many of the other parts of my PC are going to be such high end. And a lot of people, I think, are conflating water cooling and AIOs with simply being better just because they are prettier. And that's not the case. Like, the Noctua D15 is one of the best reviewed air coolers on the planet. And everyone that I watch, whether it be Jay's 2 Cents, Linus, Gamers Nexus, all these guys, they're all getting better, if not the same results from the Noctua as they are some water cooling when it comes to temperatures. But without fail, every time the Noctua cooler is quieter. And that is a major thing for me. A lot of people need to remember that as a content creator, performance is not the only thing that you care about. Quietness is. For example, was very concerned with my air conditioning up there when I first got it, whether or not it would be too loud. So I had to make sure that we spent a little bit more than we otherwise would have done to make sure that we got a quieter model. So I'm going AIO Noctua. I'm going air cooler, not AIO, because AIOs seem loud from what I can see everywhere on the internet. For no more real additional benefit when it comes to cooling versus the air cooler. It's interesting when I've been talking about PC stuff, about how, just like the CX thing, you'll get 100 people with 100 different opinions, and all 100 of them are speaking with absolute confidence of what they have said is the fact. And yeah. There's another one. You do not need 96 gigabytes of RAM. And I replied, a lot of people throwing around the word need around in this comment section. We surpassed need a bit ago. Just because I don't need it don't mean I don't want it. And if I can have it, then I'm going to have it. Stay tuned. Also, people saying that I have more than enough RAM with 32 gigabytes. I have 32 gigabytes now, and it's not enough. I, at any point, have got an extreme amount of Google Chrome tabs open, and a lot of them use a gigabyte each. Like, I think, hang on, let's go check right now how much of my RAM am I using. Hang on. If I go to Task Manager. Performance. I'm using 76% of my RAM right now, and I have, 77. I have, here you go, check this out. I'm using 24.5 gigabytes of RAM, and I am just chilling on Google Chrome. So, tripling it is a win for me. Need.